There's the record. There's the encoder. You're good to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, just like the sound of a Yeti with a whole bunch of ice cubes in it, we are back and out of there and noticeable again on your screens, in your ears, and we have some things to talk about. Unfortunately, wrestling has kind of taken a real dark turn with things, and we're going to discuss a lot of these allegations that are going on of sexual assault and things like that. But we're also going to talk the 5-part documentary series on the WWE Network of The Undertaker, and we're going to get into all of that and more this week as we
break the ring down.
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
The cream rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. You just made the list.
This right here is a family.
Hey, this is professional wrestler and professional podcaster Colt Boom Boom Cabana.
My name is Killer Cross.
This is The Smoke Show, Scarlett Bordeaux.
What's up, guys? The After Machine, Brian Cage.
This is Ryan from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Sadly, you are not listening to The Art of Wrestling, but you made a decent choice because you're listening.
You are now listening to...
And you're listening
to Breaking Down the Ring.
Breaking Down the Ring.
Breaking Down the Ring.
Breaking Down the Ring.
Breaking Down the Ring. Bring it down.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the most inappropriate pro wrestling show in the motherfucking world. You're listening to Breaking Down the Ring, and we are your ring crew.
I'm Smitty.
Plain White Z.
And the resurgence of Koenig 19.
And me, the almighty one, Mikey himself. I don't think it's a resurgence. I just think you never went away. You've always just been like lingering in the background, and then boom, you're back, baby. You're a champ.
Yeah, you're like herpes. You know, you have a flare up every fucking June.
I did go to Jobby, so.
Oh, you got herpes among other things then.
Herpesifigonoclap. That's what Jobby Nooner is.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of stuff to talk about this week. The speaking out movement is something that's been huge for the last couple weeks. We obviously took last week off due to Father's Day, and half of the people currently on the show are dads, so we decided to spend time with our kids.
It's higher than that. Oh, no, it's not. Never mind.
Oh, 50 right now. The one that on right now. Yes, definitely 60% of us have children. Z decided to baby his bong, and Smitty just decided to be a baby over that day. So, hey, that's what we did. If you don't believe me on the Smitty being a baby, look at his face. He's definitely trying to look more young by shaving off 70% of his facial hair, yet he still won't go get a fucking haircut. You don't understand it. You don't get it. Smitty, I would like you to talk about the loss of your facial hair and what the fuck prompted that before we get into anything, because you're probably scaring viewers.
I started off as a mishap with the mustache. Then I was planning on taking the sideburns off anyway, but I was mishap when the mustache started, so I just kind of experimented.
So hold on.
Yeah. Wait, you were you were planning to go like this, like make it a straight across to the sides, like no sideburn, kind of like a boomerang.
Yeah.
Okay. But so what?
I was trimming it down. I was planning on trimming it down too, and I cut too low.
All right, so what I heard was I fucked up, and trying to fix my fuck up, I just kept fucking up.
No, just one fuck up led to me just experimenting with different stuff.
And that's what you came up with.
Got it. That's how he went gay, which is fine. Totally okay.
Yeah. You have the wrong
Okay to be
background.
gay.
Way okay to be gay.
And that's okay.
Yay. So I say, gonna go eat some hay. Okay. Doesn't it always come back to happy together? So I kind of let's talk Undertaker before we get into the absolute seriousness of the speaking out movement that ravaged Twitter for days upon weeks. The last couple weeks, it's been just everywhere. We're going to talk about some of the people, some of the high-profile people, some of wrestling organizations that are shutting down due to head trainers being assholes, so on and so forth. But let's talk about this Undertaker documentary. Nick blows my mind right now. So Nick, I put out, hey, yesterday, we're talking about speaking out. We're talking about this Undertaker documentary. Nick goes, I haven't watched a single episode. And I'm like, ha, 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 you got to watch them all. Nick fucking comes up and goes, so yeah, I watched all 5 episodes between last night and this morning. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. So it is the freshest on your mind. I watched the first 3 episodes when they came out. I watched the last 2 after working 13 hours work last night. So I'm kind of fresh with it, but Nick's super fresh with it. Nick, give me your overall opinion on things that were going on and what you took away from this documentary series.
It was a really, really good documentary, very well put together. I think it was one of the better ones that WWE has done. You know, growing up, watching The Undertaker up until now, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but he's somebody that I've seen the least of as far as him being Mark Calloway. From interviews to photos to any type of video or anything like that, I have seen the least amount of him as himself up until that. So it was really interesting to see that candid Mark Calloway, him joking around, him talking to other wrestlers, being himself with his daughters, and so it was really cool to see that. The series kind of went, for me, although the whole thing as a whole was good, it kind of went downhill as it went on. Like the episodes 4 and 5 were a little, they drug on a little bit, but overall it was awesome. It was a really cool insight into the world of the Undertaker. It made me realize, these wrestlers always say that how addicting it is to want to get back and have that final moment or this, that, and the other. But man, he was certainly chasing that high. And then, he had these moments where it just didn't work the way he wanted it to. So then that made that chase even harder for him, and to just keep going out there. And I personally, it seems like he's done, but when you watch this series, I don't know if I'm 100% sold that he's done still.
Smitty.
Mark Calloway has a problem. Yeah, his body, his body and everything else is telling him no. But like Nick said, he's chasing a dragon.
It's like R. Kelly. My mind's telling me no.
But my body.
Listen to your fucking mind, bro. Listen to your fucking mind. Everything else doesn't fucking matter anymore.
So yeah, it was cool to see the separation of Mark Calloway from the Undertaker. That was pretty cool. Then there was the other part I was in. It's like, yes, he has the problem. He's obsessed with he's chasing a dragon. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Ric Flair 30 for 30 a little bit too, and a combination of that and the whole Michael Jordan Last Dance thing. The way it was produced and put together. So I was kind of spoiled on the last episode, but like Nick said, I don't think he's really done. I'm pretty sure if Vince calls him and says we need you, he'll jump back on. He'll be on a plane to Florida somewhere.
Are you talking the retire thing? That's what you were spoiled on?
Yeah.
I was spoiled on it too, but after watching it, I was like, that was the most meh retirement I've ever seen. Like, I'll believe he's retired when he goes into the Hall of Fame and it has a real fucking retirement speech. You know what I'm saying?
I'll believe he's retired when the motherfucker is dead and gone. And even at that year's WrestleMania, I'll be like, is the gong gonna hit?
It will. And they'll bring out a casket.
No, it was. I was pissed. That guy on Nick's timeline or whatever fucking ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not an idiot. I saw right where this documentary was going. He's never done this before, so you knew it was going to end with like either him announcing what his last match was going to be or him actually retiring. I was just pissed that some asshole had to fucking put it on Facebook like that. like minutes after it ended. Like, you didn't even give me a day.
Right. Like, they posted it on Nick's thing Sunday. Like, the fucking episode came out Sunday, man. What are you doing?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I got notifications at like 4 a.m.
Right.
Like, I was like on Facebook, like episode dropped like at midnight or something, or and then I got like a notification like 4 hours later before I even got a chance to watch it.
I totally had some wet eyes after that final episode, especially when they started playing George Strait, man. It just hit a chord. I'm like, oh, this old motherfucker. But
I didn't get that at all. I hate country music.
Yeah, you hate country music. You hate country music. Yeah, just like, I don't give a shit. Fuck the Undertaker. He's overrated. So is George Strait. Fuck him too.
I don't know if George Strait is overrated. I don't even know how he's rated to say it's over or under.
Fair.
Yeah, man. Same thing with all of you guys. The Undertaker, I have never ever discounted the Undertaker as an amazing character. I will never do that. I think he's one of the greatest gimmicks in wrestling history. Definitely one of the most long lasting. I think the Undertaker, as far as the guy in the back that can help lead and take other people up a notch, I think is another great thing about him. I think some of that experience is unmatched. I mean, he said it himself, over 30 plus years, and he's been near the top. Like, I'm not knocking that either. I just think as an overall wrestler, mic worker and stuff, like, look at it, man. We did a top 10 list. None of us mentioned the Undertaker in ring, top on mic. I don't think if we went into a top 25, he would still touch an in-ring. I think he might touch promos for top 25 towards the bottom of it. And the only reasoning is because he changed promo styles. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he was cutting them, especially when he finally started talking, because definitely Paul Bearer did a lot of the talking for him at first. But when he finally started talking, it was slow, methodical. It matched his character in a way. I'm not saying that it transformed the game, right, of wrestling, but at the same time, that's so many people to me, and when I say overrated, so many people talk about him in a Mount Rushmore setting, which means top 4 people, and I'm like, he is not top 4, and that's what I mean by overrated. I will never say he sucks. I will never say he's horrible in the ring. I will never say he's horrible on the mic. I'll say he's good at everything he did, right? Really good in some aspects. Fuck, man. 2 of the best WrestleMania matches considered have him in it, right? But it's also with Shawn Michaels. I'm not trying to say the Undertaker sucks. A lot of people think when I say he's overrated, I think he sucks, and I do not think he sucks. But he's not Mount Rushmore status, right? I don't even think he's top 10 status. I would put him under the top 10, possibly in the top 20. That's what I mean by overrated. Then you have this documentary, which brings about a light, and Nick was saying it, and Nick, you're very, very right. The one thing that he always did was protect the character. Undertaker lived kayfabe, and he talked about it a lot in episode 4, how he decided to live this gimmick. Anytime he went out, he was always dressed in black, Anytime he did interviews, he was always, he came out as the Undertaker. He barely spoke in the beginning, because Paul Bearer ran with it. And then eventually he said, I needed to, then we got into why he did American Badass in episode 5. He had to switch it up to stay relevant. And he did it really well. And so many people shit on American Badass Undertaker. And I think it was a really good change of gimmick for him. Do I think it's the best Undertaker? No. But I don't think it absolutely sucked. He had a great run with that. There was a lot of people he put over. There was a lot of the matches with Kurt Angle that he had with the American Badass gimmick. There was a lot of all the Cena stuff, and they showed it. He eventually came out, kept some of the aura of it. And then even at the end, when he said he rode off, it was still more American Badass style than it was anything else. I agree with Nick. I think this is one of the best documentary series that WWE has put together, but it's also because they went more in depth with this than anything else, and much deservedly so, because nobody's known anything on the outside. Like, even now, think about that. Just about everything about everyone in wrestling. Something hits the dirt sheets. Something hits the internet. Something hits social media. Everyone knows something about everything except The Undertaker, right? Even when he was training, the most you saw, and it was because they were teasing the shit, was a workout stuff on Michelle McCool's Instagram. Cena called him out on it. AJ called him out on it. That's it. He put the stuff out. It wasn't like a dirt sheet. Undertaker training in a match, for a match. Undertaker stayed as under the radar as anyone possibly could have, even into this social media. Everyone's going to find out everything about everyone phase. And that says a lot about that guy and his privacy and how he takes himself so seriously like that. I got nothing but respect for The Undertaker. I do agree that as a backstage guy, he helped shape a lot of people, which means we wouldn't have a lot of the things that we had. Again, overrated, not Mount Rushmore, not top 10, but still fucking great character, So they got into a lot of, in episode 5, I want to talk a little bit about this, a lot of the AJ stuff, to where even Michelle McCool was like, watching AJ's promo, when he mentioned her, she said she called his wife during the promo. Was like, damn. We all talked about it too. Like, holy shit, AJ just went nuts. Z, watching episode 5, thinking of all the things you were thinking when AJ was cutting that promo, does that even change a little? Because obviously maybe Mark, Taker, and AJ talked about it, but Michelle had no fucking clue, and she's watching it. So what's your takeaway more from that than from episode 5 and stuff?
I don't know if Taker necessarily knew exactly what AJ was going to say. I have a feeling they might have had a conversation like, all right, what is off limits? And Taker might have been like, nothing's off limits. All right, cool. Because even Taker was like, oh, now he said something about my wife. So now I have to incorporate Mark Calloway into, when he talks about the American Badass and the Undertaker, and now he's got to put Mark Calloway in there and, whatever. But it gave them a lot to work with as far as where to go with the story, especially the way Taker explains it in the documentary. And, but even like you were saying, Michelle McCool was like, wow, like, I knew he was like gonna get personal, but I didn't know he was gonna get that personal, and I kind of hate him right now. Like, he did a really good job with it. So, it just basically confirmed what I already knew, that they kind of talked about it, and he had free range to shoot on the Undertaker basically. So,
Smitty, when all that was going on, and then obviously like you said, Undertaker said, the direction of that match completely changed with the COVID-19 outbreak and stuff like that. Do you think that because it switched up to a cinematic style match rather than an in-ring match with a lot of possibility of fuck up, to, hey, we can cut shit together and make it look good. Even though, even he said, you're watching it and you're like, wow, a lot of this stuff looks really good. Do you think that was better for him to go cinematic match style to be his possible last match? Or are you thinking that he might want to, it did a disservice to possibly his final match?
I think going cinematic was the right way for, especially with the COVID thing. Taker's last few performances during live shows outside of that tag match he had with Reigns, he just kind of lackluster for him. And like there was, like I said, what this match being cinematic, there was room for error. And if this is I'm still kind of scratching my head thinking this is not his last match. So.
Right, but again, he's saying it is. He said it before, but right, I'm saying he's saying it is right now. And and like he said, the only thing that makes me even remotely think a little bit more to this might be his final match is because of the line that he said was like, it might be the greatest way to go out, in the most perfect way to go out. You know, have a good match like that, raving reviews, and the final scene is me riding off on my motorcycle, right? He said that might be the perfect match, the perfect way to go out. And that being said, Nick, I know that we have said it. I know that we are every one of us have said we're not positive that this man is actually going to retire after this match, at least from wrestling, right? Like the wrestling thing, right? In-ring performance, cinematic performance, however you want to have it. Because we know that he's been in NXT helping the bigger guys. He's been doing this stuff. If they brought him back, Nick, if you saw the Undertaker gimmick brought back on television, would you only want to see it for a Hall of Fame moment? Or is there maybe one more match that you would like to see the Undertaker wrestle in, and against whom?
I don't think I'd want to see him in another match. When he was talking about the cinematic match, I think at first he may have been a little skeptical with it. He may have been a little skeptical either way because, he wanted to work with AJ Styles. He said he was, one of the greatest guys out there, that he really wanted to work with him. But then there's that room for error in an actual match. But then, he went through with the cinematic match, and I don't think he expected it to turn out as good as it did, because then when he actually went back and watched, he's like, wow, this was great, this, that, and the other. For him, I think it would be a good idea for that to be his final wrestling match one way or another. I don't want to see him in another match. I would rather see him come back, get inducted into the Hall of Fame, have that moment and be done with it. You know what I mean? Like he said himself, there's really nothing left for him to do. I mean, literally, what more? What are you going to have him come back and win the NXT title? Like, there's nothing left for him to do. And, okay, 20 years ago, would we have liked to see him wrestle fucking Sting? Sure. And, all these other guys. But the proof right there when we saw him and Goldberg at Saudi Arabia, that right there to me just said, no more of these dream matches, because that shit's just not going to work. So
it's always a nightmare.
Yeah, there's nothing left for him to do. So, ride off into the sunset, like you said, come back, Hall of Fame, and be done with it. That's really it. No matches, no more.
Right, like special appearances, certain things that are going on. You'd like to see the Undertaker come in and say hello,
sure.
Give a little promo, maybe. Z, now I want to talk about everyone's episode, something that was a defining moment that they watched in these 5 episodes. Z, what was yours? Like, just something that stood out the most, whether it be positive or negative, something that was just like, you'll always go, wow, holy fuck, I'm glad they did this documentary because of this.
Well, as a whole, I'm glad they did it because, as we've all talked about, up until this documentary, Undertaker was the most protected gimmick in the business, period. So this gave you a lot of insight behind the curtain, a lot of stuff we never seen before. And the one thing I liked about this is every time him and Vince like saw each other, they hugged, and then Vince would tell the camera to cut off. Like anytime they would start speaking about something, he was like, all right, you got enough, get out of my office. You hear him saying it in the documentary, which is it's funny to me because obviously Vince isn't going to let them film like their contract negotiations or what they're going to do next. You know, that makes sense. But it was just funny when they talked to him at the end, he's like, no, I can't do this. He's a good guy. And then they cut the camera. And it's like, wow, like Mr. McMahon got that choked up when asked like what the Undertaker means to this company. So I mean that was cool to see, you know, just the behind the scenes stuff that you never really seen, like, and we see a lot of behind the scenes stuff like doing what we do as far as reporting on all this stuff. And you know, just to see the Undertaker's personal life, it was really cool. But now you can't take that back. You can't, you know, you can't come back for another match because if he does, then it makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. So
unless he's just the American badass.
Well, no, I mean just in general. Like you rode off into the sunset. He liked the video and was like, "Wow, that's a perfect way to go out," and it is. And now I know. Now you've officially broken the kayfabe behind the Undertaker. So like, why just that? Have that be it. Have him be a trainer in NXT and maybe, you know, cut a promo, you know, just or some old school shit. But again, you know, don't wrestle anymore. Because he even said that the taping the match was just as hard on his body as working a 45-minute match. Yeah. But he was also saying, but in the 45-minute match, I don't feel shit until the match is over because my adrenaline's going. With all this stop and start shit, like you feel it the entire time. Yeah. So I don't really see another cinematic match in his future either. So just let that be it and call it a career because it's been one hell of one. So,
all right. Smitty, the one thing about this documentary that stood out the most to you?
Just Mark Calloway being candid and just being himself throughout the whole thing. That's one thing that stuck out to me. Like Z said, like the Undertaker's been one of the most protected gimmicks probably in wrestling history, and just seeing a man behind the character, like for pretty much damn near 5 hours, was pretty interesting.
All right, Nick.
You know, like I said earlier, having this insight into who he is was great. I think a big takeaway was as closed off as he has been for his entire career. And then over the course of these 5 episodes, you see, and I mean, I know we all have an idea of the type of toll that is taken on their body, but between the surgery and then him going over, you know, the nurse asked him, have you ever had any surgeries before? And then they were going over, you know, 15 different surgeries. Have you ever had any broken fingers? Or which one? You pick. And, you know, and he had made a comment. He made a comment in the car about, you know, the last thing he wants is for somebody, you know, our age to tell their kid, oh, yeah, you know, he's a little slow, but you should have seen him, you know, 15 years ago. He doesn't want that. So
too late.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. But you pretty much got the whole gist of his entire career. And yeah, they only filmed it for 3 years, but his whole career over these 5 episodes. And it is a perfect way for him to go out. So I think, you know, my biggest takeaway is that if it were me and I was the Undertaker, I would be done, because as closed off as he's been, he lets you in now for these 5 episodes more than anything we've ever seen from him. And then it's done. You know what I mean? So
one of my biggest, I agree. Us being brought into the life of Mark Calloway is huge. And I agree. I think that's also, it's obviously all of our biggest takeaways. But one of the biggest things about this to me is how much everyone said that Undertaker is old school, Undertaker respects the business and things like that, and then how big of a hypocrite the Undertaker is. And I say that because if anyone knows anything about this business, when you're out, you go out on your back. And Undertaker went out with a victory, right? And I get it. At the end of it, he's like, but I'm going to do it my way. It's like, okay, I get that you want to do it your way, but if you're truly respecting and loving this business and want to pass it on, why are you doing something that not even who you consider the greatest of all time and have said it well, Ric Flair did, right? Ric Flair's final matches, the one in WWE and ones that he had in TNA, he went out losing, just like it said to, like, you're supposed to go out on your back. And I'm always just like, when I was watching that, I was like, man, I kind of hope he does come back for one more match to lose. Like, but that's it. Like, and that's, dude, that is so fucking nitpicky, right? I feel like I'm like just finding something to say wrong, but I mean, that's what you, when you're saying so much about how much love and respect you have for this business, and then you go out and you say, but I'm going to go out my way, so I'm going to go out on, winning. Why are you better than these other people who before you that you fully respect? Then you're breaking a tradition, like. But, go ahead, Z.
I was going to say, but I mean, the only defense I have for that is going in, he didn't think this was going to be his very last match. And then he went back and watched the cinematic and was like, all right, that's perfect. Now, I think if he would have known going in, then they would have buried him at the end of the match. You know what I mean? Like, the match would have been the exact same, just the finish would have been different. And then he would have went out on his back because he is an old school guy. But the fact that he was on the fence and watched this and there's like, wow, like, this was great. There's no way I can top this, especially at my age. Like, let's call that it. And that would have been great. AJ being one of only 3 people to ever beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, like add another notch in his belt. Yeah. But hindsight's always 20/20. I mean, you have a point, because I did think about that myself. I was like, man, like, that's fucked up, because even like Triple H is real traditional. So even guys, when they lose at NXT or leaving or go up the main roster, they go out on their back. Like, it's just the oldest tradition there is in wrestling. Like, when you're leaving somewhere, you go out on your back. So I'm with you on that.
That's also why I think Triple H has one more match in him, because Triple H retired Batista, right? His last match, the last match that Triple H has had was him going over on Batista, but it was Batista's retirement match. So Batista lost and went out on his back. So that's why I think Triple H has one more in him at some point. And if I bet fucking money, it's probably a takeover, right? I just feel like him going out on
Adam
his back,
Cole versus Triple H,
maybe something like that, man.
That or Orton,
or Balor. I mean,
I agree, man. Like, but I honestly believe him in an NXT ring, because it's his baby. One, especially if he loses, people might shit on it at first, right? Like, oh, NXT is now bringing in the older people and stuff like. But NXT is Triple H's baby. Right?
I'll say it's a little different.
Yeah, and so I mean, but you're still gonna get people bitching, right? The people will always bitch, no matter what. So. But I think that if done right, and whoever he takes on pins him, and he says, I wanted my final match to be here, in what I created and what I believe is it's just apropos. It's a beautiful storybook. And I think if it's a good match, people are like, what a great way to go. Similar to Taker. I mean, think about it, man. I agree. When he said that, he goes, how many times do you get that where the unanimous vote is, that was great. And sure, you can nitpick that fucking Boneyard match too, especially that fucking hand at the end. Right? But you can nitpick anything. But the bottom line is, overall, that Boneyard match was a great way for him to go out. So, but even though he won, I would kind of, and you're right, Z, I didn't even think about that, because going into it, he wasn't thinking. Although, yeah, he was too, because he was like, I don't know, and he won the fucking tag match. Like his last 2 matches, he won. So
well, right, but no, I'm just saying, like you heard him in the video. He was on the fence, like he was leaning more one way than the other, but he was like, all right, I'll do this against AJ, but then like, what's next and whatever. Now it sounds like he's content with just being done instead of looking forward to what's next. Or if Vince is in a pinch, you know, I'll be there. What? So you really are going to come down in a walker? Like, come on. Well, I mean, look at Ric Flair. Ric Flair wrestled till he's 80 and he's only 70.
So if let's say, you know, you saw Undertaker go back and he watched that match with Roman Reigns and, you know, he was disappointed in some of the things that happened. If he hadn't felt that way, would that have been his last match? Because, you know, everything that happened at the end where he took off his gloves and folded his coat and his hat, whatever, and went out and sunk into the ramp with his fist in the air, that felt like the last match. He would have went out on his back. So if that match would have been the way he wanted it, do you guys think that he would have kept going?
Well, and up until this Boneyard match, it should have been his last match.
Yeah.
Minus like 1 or 2 in there that were, you know,
the Extreme Rules. That's it. The Extreme Rules is the only decent one.
Yeah, that should have been it. But again, he didn't like that. But now it also got me thinking. So after that Lesnar match at WrestleMania where Lesnar broke the streak, Undertaker was out on his feet. Like he went back, he stumbled to the back and like had no idea who the fuck he was and had a concussion. So it makes me wonder if Brock Lesnar was really supposed to win that match or the Undertaker was concussed and just didn't kick out. because going back and watch that, even Paul Heyman was like, what the fuck? So, and then they just, you know, spun it their way. Like, oh no, the Undertaker wanted Brock to beat him. You know, that kind of shit.
Right. Yeah. I would love to say it was set for Brock. I mean, they said talking about it going in. He's like, and I went to him day of, and I was like, "Are you sure about this?" And he was like, "Yeah. Who else, Al? It's gonna be good shit." It always comes back to that. I forgot about it until you were just talking, Z. They did brush. And when I say brush, I mean, okay, we're done talking about it. Over StarCast 2, right? Like Taker was supposed to go. Him and Angle were pulled out of it. And he said, Vince and I had a huge argument about it, a great falling out. And it wasn't for, I think he said months before they spoke again, right? And then all of a sudden everything's fine. So, which, I mean, can happen with the best of friends. Let's go into that real quick before we get off of this topic. Undertaker's supposed to be at StarCast 2. He wanted to do something. Vince said no. They have a huge falling out about it. I was at that StarCast, and I was the one in Vegas. And I was like, even being there, I was like, man, Taker would have made this fucking thing even better. Smitty, I'm going to lead off with you with this. Watching that, did you wish they got into a little bit more of that, or were you just like, oh, I'm surprised they even mentioned it at all? They gave it that much time.
I was surprised they mentioned it at all, and that was more so on the fact that like Taker even said the best. He said, "I'm not going anywhere else. Where can I go?" Right? He said he wasn't going anywhere else, right? And so I'm surprised they brought it up at all because him and
yeah. I'm with Smitty. I'm surprised they even touched upon it. I'm surprised it was even mentioned, especially because it wasn't their convention to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they even mentioned it by name, like
right, StarCast like, wow.
2. Like they didn't even refer to it as like, hey, you know, remember that convention? Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, they don't even give referees names anymore. No. So like, why are we name dropping StarCast? But whatever. Yeah, so again, just surprised they talked about it at all. Not surprised to hear that him and Vince had a falling out about it because he wanted to do it and Vince was, no, I'm not going to let.
It was probably a huge chunk of change they were going to pay him too.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know about that, but I think Vince was more concerned with, oh, you're going to use two of my best superstars to boost your numbers at a convention that doesn't have a WWE name on it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm not going to give you that satisfaction of being like, oh, 60,000 people. Well, you use two WWE guys. Fuck you. And Angle and Taker at that, like not just two WWE guys, like two of the best.
Right.
Two that would definitely draw money at a convention like that. So whatever.
Nick, were you surprised?
Yeah, honestly, I was, and especially you saw the whole logo go up there, and I don't necessarily believe the Undertaker when he said he didn't know that it was affiliated, and he said with that other company. I don't think
it's not though.
But
it's not. It's Conrad's own thing that just happened to book a lot of the other companies, guy,
and it's because
indie people in general, just wrestling people.
Yeah, it's like WWE has access for all of the big four, right? And this is like, hey, we can bring an indie convention to major indie, like to another company that's doing major stuff. Yeah, because it's right there on the same weekend. Sure, they get those guys. They're there. They're already traveled there. It's not like there's any expense that has to be paid for that. And then, of course, there's a bunch of other guys. I mean, fuck, Ron Simmons. I was there. Ron Simmons, Hurricane, a bunch of old school guys that weren't wrestling.
Greg, when we were at the one in Chicago, we sat right across from Greg our Hammer Valentine.
Yeah, we're next to Neil Dashwood.
Yeah, and right next to Neil Dashwood. Yes, very good. And then DDP, like Nick was like, "Hey, DDP, I want to interview you," and DDP was like, "Let's go for it."
That's so cute that you make him sound like he was just that confident about it. He was about to shit his fucking pants. He was like, microphone in hand. I don't know. Oh, hi, I'm Nick from Breaking Down the Ring.
Yeah, there's still shit stains all over the carpet in that room.
and that was also the interview we realized that Z can't work a camera.
No, it wasn't. I thought that was the Smack Talk Showdown guys.
No, I was too big of a chicken shit to interview DDP, so I filmed it while I watched Nick fumble upon it.
But anyway, okay. So with that being said, it was a surprise. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about it, especially when he finished talking about it. He had a look on his face like, ugh, like it was kind of a sensitive subject. And I think maybe even he was a little surprised that it was being talked about.
Right.
Yeah, I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about that for sure.
Yeah, I want to hear that. I want that story. I think I agree. That's like what's the meat and potatoes there? You gave me an onion ring, but I want to fucking hold it all.
He's got to save something for the book.
Yeah.
Fair. Man. Oh, all right.
Oh God. I mean, think about it. The Undertaker comes out with a book of everything you didn't hear about in that. Everyone's buying that motherfucker.
Right, but he's also on a 15-year contract with WWE, so you might not ever get that book with mentioning like that, because he's always going to be connected to WWE, at least for 15 more years. That's 2035. How old is he going to be then? 78? Something like that? I don't know. I'm really bad.
He's going to die on the contract.
He doesn't ever die. WWE.
Yeah. They're still paying him like a fucking – is it Daryl Strawberry? No, not Strawberry. Who the fucking Mets are paying?
Oh, got it. I know who you're talking about. No, I think last year was the last year they had to pay him on that ridiculous ass contract.
Yeah, it was like an MLB contract, like 20.
He only played like 3 years with them, and he got paid for the next 25.
Yeah, that was the contract that he signed. I was like, what? Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, Daryl Strawberry was the crackhead.
So was the mayor of D.C., and he was reelected.
So was Josh Hamilton, and he won the batting title. So.
Crack's great.
The side effects suck.
Yeah, the side effects suck. The actual stuff's amazing. It's like sex.
In a land full of steroids, I did meth.
Overall, out of 10, what do you rate the Undertaker documentary, Nick?
I'd give it a 8.5, only because the last 2 episodes were a little boring for me. But
all right, Smitty. Sorry.
I agree with Nick with the 8.5. It was like it was part of it because I was spoiled on the last episode before I even got a chance to watch it.
Your rating on the documentary is based on somebody else, not the documentary.
Are you even surprised at this point?
Yeah, no, I really am not. Z, what do you rate the Undertaker documentary?
I'm gonna help pad the stats here, boys. I'm giving it 10. Fucking 10.
Fucking 10. Really?
Looks like a 7. Looks like a 7, but it's 10.
You really thought it was perfect?
I mean, being the first one, and I mean, okay, they continue this docu-series, right? Filmed in this same kind of way and all that. Like this is their benchmark, right? Like, can you see one being better?
Can I see one?
What's that?
You said, can I see one being better?
Yeah. Unless they do one on Vince.
Yeah.
And give you the actual tell-all.
Oh, you'll never get an actual tell-all of Vince.
I know, but if it did, it'd make a lot of fucking money.
There's too many skeletons in that closet.
Oh man, I don't even think they're skeletons. I'm pretty sure there's still fresh fucking bodies in there.
Right, but you don't gotta reveal all of them. Just give us an arm or something.
Just like, here you go. I give it an 8. I definitely don't think it's perfect. I thought it was really good, but I agree, Nick. Those last 2 episodes. Fuck, man. Episode 4 for sure just dragged to me. Like I thought it was because I was watching it after work and I was like, man, maybe I'm just tired and wish this would end. When are we getting episode 5? But when we got into episode 5, all of the stuff about AJ and how they got into it and how they had gone camping with his cousin, so they got to really know them well. I was really invested into that. Right. And then I was like, oh shit, this episode's almost halfway over. But yeah, episode 4 to me just fucking dragged.
Yeah, episode 4 was clearly filler.
Yeah, 100%. But the start of episode 5 and like a little bit towards the end of episode 5, we're also like, okay, we can finish this now.
I was gonna say that because towards the end of episode 5, once like you got the gist he was retiring, then it was just this long drug out thing of him like standing at his farmhouse and shit. And it's like,
right,
all right, I get it. Like,
and yet you gave it a 10.
Oh no, well yeah, because if it was perfect, I would have given it 12 stars. But it wasn't perfect.
Calm down, Dave Meltzy.
I give it an 8. I give it an 8.5.
You liar! You give it a 9.
8.5. 8.4.
But yeah, so
make the math hard.
I'm giving it my math. I'm not fucking putting anything out about this. We're talking about it now. Yeah. So I'm not doing any extracurricular work on this fucking shit. But yeah, I give it an 8. Again, I think it was a really good as tell all as they would tell regarding him. So let's move on to a huge blight on wrestling. I am not positive who started this. I think it was Dave Christ's girlfriend, maybe.
Yeah, it was either Chris or somebody on Lagana.
Lagana was real early. I think Victoria. I honestly think Victoria, Dave Chris' girlfriend, started this. The hashtag speaking out. This is something that when you really delve into, no matter who you are, like you just get a bad taste in your mouth. It kind of ruins certain things. Now, I also want to say that and this is me. I don't know how you guys feel about this. This is 100% me. And it will always come back to the most prominent case of why. I'm 100% about believing victims, right? I believe what you have to say. But I feel that there still also has to be a burden of proof. If it's he said versus she said. Who is singing? Z was singing. Get on the podcast!
He's going to get condemned to the basement again.
Right. Hi, Allie. When it's a he said, she said thing, I am not saying that her story is wrong. I'm saying that before you go into condemning the accused, there has to be some sort of burden of proof. And the reason I say this is because there are disgusting fucking people out there that destroy this for the actual victims. The first most prominent one is the wife of Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. She said Johnny Depp did all kinds of shit things to her. It ruined his career, cut the Pirates of the Caribbean fired. Yeah, ruined the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, all kinds of stuff, just destroyed his career. And then it came out that it was actually her fucking with him, to the point where now Disney, I think, is talking about doing one more Pirates, just as like, sorry, Johnny, and give him a huge fucking pay cut. Now, I'm also of the mindset of where there's smoke, there's fire. Because if you're, and that's a one-on-one thing, right? A lot of these guys, more than one person is coming out about. And I'm like, well, fuck that guy automatically. Because if you get multiple accusations up against you, I don't, there's kind of falling into the burden of proof, especially when there's so much detail that is going on. But again, I'm not trying to take away from this movement, because I think this movement is amazing. I think this movement is helping clean up wrestling. It's getting a lot of fucking pieces of shit out of this goddamn business that are making it hard and uncomfortable for people to wrestle and do what they love. Anything that kills a passion is fucking horrible. Nobody's passion should be destroyed because they feel uncomfortable, right? That's my personal feelings on this before we go into the names of it. And I kind of want to get your guys' personal feelings on this. Z, I want to start with you.
I'm with you. Almost 100% of what you said, because I have the same thought. I believe when you say something, I want to believe it. And as a victim, people should believe what you say. The problem lies in the people that come forward for attention, or just come forward with, blatantly fake allegations, and everybody jumps to condemn, the person being accused, and then it comes out being that it was a false narrative, and it hurts all of it going forward, because now you have victims that people will be like, all right, well, what is he now? Now it becomes like a he said, she said, until there is a burden of proof. And I hate people that sabotage their own movement, like women that come forward and say things that are false, and then it ends up hurting more than it does helping, no matter what what they were trying to accomplish. When there's loopholes in a story, people start questioning everything. And it makes it even worse for the victims, who were, put through a traumatic experience, and now nobody believes them because one person, it becomes a almost like a snowball effect, and it sucks.
Right.
For all the pieces of shit out there, absolutely, like this is a great thing. And like you were saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's, like, in the case of Dave Lagana and Dave Price, it's multiple people. In other cases that we've shared on our Facebook story, it's like there's promoters and stuff that weren't just, you know, sexually harassing women or abusing women. They were also abusing the male talents as well. Like this isn't just gender bias here. This is, you know, everybody. And it really is a for a lack of a better term, a shit stain on the industry as a whole. A lot of I've looked through a lot of these names. There are a lot that are, you know, on the independent circuit. There's also quite a bit that are overseas talent, like people from, you know, Ireland and Britain, and like a lot of the guys from WWE. It's their UK brand. I've noticed just from the names that I've seen. I mean, there's probably more, but it's,
and we're definitely going to get into the names. I just overall feeling.
It's disgusting either way you look at it, and it's even more disgusting that you can't believe everything you hear. And you know, that's you know, it's just disappointing in general.
Smitty, your overall feelings on this before we go into naming names and talking about specific things, just how you're feeling regarding this.
These shitty people out there, like, I agree with both of you when it comes to, like, there are those people that's looking for attention or about having, they want to seem like victims, but at the core they're looking for attention. That's fucked up. And I believe that whatever. Hey, stop laughing at me.
No, you remind me of that thing from TikTok, like, how fucked up is fucked up? That's fucked up.
So fucked up.
Yeah, listen, nobody, none of the actual victims deserve what happened to them, and all those who have done things, hell, they can die gonorrhea and rotten hell for all I care, for the most part.
Sounds like a plan. Nick.
Yeah, gonorrhea is curable. I wish herpes upon them or something.
Yeah, but if they die of it, you know.
You could die of herpes. I mean, you just don't ever get it treated.
Yeah. Nick, your feelings on this when you're as you're seeing things come out.
Bitches be crazy. Keep your fucking legs closed. No.
It is totally here on Breaking Down the Ring. Are that of the ring crew alone, and not necessarily this ring crew member.
No, I am totally kidding.
The views and opinions.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with my female inferiority complex here with my gimmick, but I figured I should not touch upon that.
It is terrible, and it's I'm of the same opinion as you guys, and Mikey, you said it. You know, if a woman comes out and she is making these accusations and saying that this happened, I'm 100% by them. You know, that it's not something to joke about, even though I did make light of it. But you know, tragedy plus time equals humor. So, I'm of that mindset where, you know, okay, let's see the proof too, but it's not to discredit anything that any of these victims are talking about. It's a terrible thing. I don't think that it should ever be a thing. You know, I know that there's hazing that happens, and there's, you know, a lot of these guys are, you know, all adrenaline all the time. They don't give a fuck. You know, they, you know, they'll say anything to anybody and whatever, but you still have to treat people with respect, and it's just something that we shouldn't even be having a conversation with, especially with wrestling and the spotlight that it is in certain aspects. It's a terrible thing, and you know, I really hope that people learn from this, and that now that it's being brought to light, that, you know, men especially, you know, watch how you treat women. You know what I mean? They really need to be careful and treat each other with respect. And the same goes for women, you know, treating men with respect. But it's terrible. And I wish that all of it never happened.
Yeah. As Z was making mention of, like, so I think this started off against Dave Christ. One of the major people to get a fuck ton of shit against them is Joey Ryan. To the point where, man, I've never seen so much disassociation from something in my life. The way that it came out, like someone came out and said one or two originally, and then Joey Ryan puts out a statement that says, according to my lawyers, I can't say too much about this, but every one of these victims should be listened to and respected. I thought it was some of these things were consensual. Apparently I was wrong, and I will go and try to find out where I went wrong in this. And it sounds like a decent, okay, you're a dick, but maybe not. And then the fucking, it's like he posted that, and all it was just a sledgehammer to a dam, and it destroyed it. And then everything fucking comes rushing out. And person after person after person after person is like, yeah, you did this. Oh, and you did this to me. Oh, and you did this to me, and you did this to me. And what about me and me and me? To the point where pro wrestling tees, shirts are gone. Impact, fired, deleted off of Twitter. You know, all this shit.
Bar Wrestling closes doors.
Yeah, his promotion fucking closed its doors. Not the only promotion to close a door because of what was going on from the top guys. But yeah, so this Joey Ryan comes out, and then of course our own Orlando Christopher, man, he's like, I got into it with like a fucking year ago with him online.
Yeah,
so
he
many
basically
people
came out and was like, I told you so.
And he's like, he's like, we had this conversation a fucking year ago, and you guys all defended him then and basically blacklisted me from things. How many people are going to take his side now? I am
nobody.
Right now, of course, fucking nobody. Like, everyone's disassociated.
Like, not even Jack wants to jump on that lifeboat.
No, not at all. He's like, go ahead, Rose. That's what happens when you let me go. Yeah, so the Joey Ryan stuff is kind of huge. Dave Lagana, from what was the girl's name? Pardon me for like looking it up. Liz Savage. Sorry. She said after being friends with Lagana for years, he assaulted her. He's no longer with NWA, the VP. He has resigned his position, aka, hey, leave. Okay. That's that, right? Like we said, Dave Christ was a huge one. Then you got your WWE guys, Jordan Devlin, Jack Gallagher, El Ligaro, AEW guys, Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy Havoc. Sammy Guevara is, what he said was horrible, right? And I think Sammy Guevara was avoiding everything until he made the Ricochet Sasha Banks joke. And then someone's like, hey, remember what you said in this podcast in 2016? Right? Like, nobody would have said shit if he didn't mock Sasha Banks, right? I feel like he may have, like, horrible, but I feel like him coming out making fun of Sasha Banks because of a silly fucking thing going on. Like, it was like the first time a Jericho segment has been beaten in AEW is by Bayley and Sasha Banks. And Sasha's like, we're better than Lace Sex Gods. And then Sammy responds with a old school picture of Ricochet with the long hair standing next to Triple H. And she's like, and he says something about Trevor, like basically saying that Sasha looks like a man. So then people, jump on Guevara for that. And then it comes out that old thing that he fucking said about Sasha, but I'd rape her. Ugh, dude. And so of course now he's just suspended, which I am fully behind, right? I think that's smart. Sammy's 26. I put out on our Twitter, not on our Twitter, in response to AEW's things, I tweeted under it, and a lot of people seem to have liked it. It's like, look, man, if I was judged by my life in the mid-20s, I'd be a piece of shit to everybody too. I've grown, right? Like the shit that I did when I was 25, I would never do right now, right?
Nope. Wouldn't even think about it.
Right. So I can't say that some people at 26 also do the same shit, and they're fucking pieces of shit. But I can't say that he is, because again, that shit was in 2006. He's 26 now. So that means he was 22 when he said that. If I was judged by my early 20s, I'd be even worse, right? Like, I agree that AEW did the right thing. They suspended him without pay. The pay that he's supposed to be getting is going to a charity, and they're forcing him to, and they're telling him to take sensitivity training, which is great. It helps you see things
that happens in your workplace, like that situation. That's exactly how they would handle it. So,
yep,
I mean, you know what I mean. And then if it comes out that he actually and it was more than just words, it was actions, then take the proper legal course, that kind of shit.
100%. I think AEW handled that correctly. Yep.
I mean, we told ourselves as the most inappropriate pro wrestling podcast, and there's probably shit we say on here that we probably shouldn't. But again, in a joking, gimmicky manner. Like I'm hoping that some of us don't mean everything we say, and if you do, well, fuck you too. But either
yes, I hope they die and they burn in fucking hell.
Yeah, because they took our jabs. I don't know. The other one is Matt Riddle, though. Matt Riddle, and then it comes out that he actually has a restraining order against the girl because she's been stalking him since 2016.
Hold on. Doesn't have a restraining order. Has been an alleged conversation for the last couple of years about getting a restraining order, according to his lawyers. He never actually got one. So that's what's crazy to me is like it was the same thing. Like it's Candy Cartwright from Evolve, and apparently that he was cheating on his wife with her, and then apparently, according to Riddle, she went nuts, right? And she, OPP syndrome, no, this is other people's shit. You should understand, like Tretch, I was down for OPP from the very start. But then, so he comes out with his rebuttal, it's like right before he's debuts on SmackDown, and then his rebuttal with his lawyers is like, "Hey, you've actually been nuts this whole time, and now you're trying to make me look bad." I can't find it. I've been searching it for all fucking morning. I can't find more people had come out against Matt Riddle. People on Candy Cartwright's side, yeah, he said this, but he was also cheating with me and everything like that. It's not like this is stopped. This is what he's doing.
But now my question, with Matt Riddle, what exactly are the accusations? Just that he cheated on his wife with this girl, or is there more to it? Because what it sounded like to me when he said, when she came out and then his lawyers came out and said she was stalking, my first thought was, okay, so he was banging this girl on the road and his wife found out, and now the girl thought he was going to leave his wife, but now he's not leaving his wife or whatever, and now she's being like, hey, I'm the girl he's banging on the road.
So this is the statement from Candy Cartwright. I'm posting this because I have been so sad for so long. I didn't realize that what he did to me was not okay. I realize now, reading these other brave women's stories, that I can't be afraid anymore and I have to speak out. Back in May of 2018, I was riding with Matt Riddle and a few other wrestlers. During the van ride, when the 3 other wrestlers had fallen asleep, Matt asked me to hop on his dick. When I refused, although we had previously been together and I was incredibly uncomfortable in that setting. When I said no, he grabbed me by my throat, choked me, and said, "What if I just made you?" I ended up giving him oral sex, praying someone wouldn't wake up, to get out of having intercourse with him. It was incredibly humiliating. It is never okay to put your hands on a woman. It is also not okay to listen when she says no. And then, of course, WWE put out, "We take any allegations of this nature very seriously and are looking into the matter." Riddle's lawyer put out the statement, "These allegations by this independent female performer are completely false and another attempt to harass and humiliate Mr. and Mrs. Riddle and try to tarnish their reputation in the community. We have been aware for the last 2 years of this performer stalking the Riddle family. In 2019, our firm had drafted a pleading against this performer to seek an injunction for cyber stalking in the Circuit Court of Orange County, Florida." That was the original stuff of all of this. Let's be honest, okay? If him putting his hands on her and
not okay,
her doing him not taking no for an answer for anything is rape, right? Regardless of if she did it, it's a form of fucking rape.
It's coercion.
It's if that
making somebody do something against their will is rape. You know, and whatever degree, but rape nonetheless.
And so it's like, other people have come out and said that Candy had talked about this story with them before. So obviously it happened, right? And I'm kind of confused because I think I don't get why WWE didn't jump on this one, right? Because regardless if she has been nuts and stalking him and doing things like that, it does not change the fact that that happened. You know, and that's why when it first came out, I was just like, oh, and then well, maybe this didn't happen. And then other people were like, no, it happened. And it's like, oh, WWE's released a whole bunch of other people, right? Ligaro, Jordan Devlin, Jack Gallagher. What?
I did this thing last night because I was bored, and I went through my WWE video game, and I took everybody off the video game who was not on TV. You know how many wrestlers I was left with total?
10.
No, it's like 20. It's like 26 between three brands.
Eesh.
Yeah, it makes for some really good matchups, though. No, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know all that with the Riddle thing. I also don't know why. I guess it kind of shows you where WWE is at with Riddle and the push they're looking to give him if they're willing to be like release these other guys immediately, but then be like, oh, we're gonna wait to hear what the courts have to say about this. You know?
Yeah.
It sounds like they're gonna wait for this to try to blow over and keep them off TV till then.
Yeah, it's who, Riddle? Riddle was just on SmackDown last night beating the shit out of Baron Corbin.
I'm watching it right now. He's in the lumberjack match, and then he comes in and attacks it after whatever. So clearly with Braun Strowman, they're going back to the whole sheet mask thing because they're letting him grow his hair out.
You said what?
With this whole angle with Bray Wyatt, Bray Wyatt went back to his old gimmick, so they're kind of doing like the Matt Hardy thing with Bray now, where he can just come out as anybody. And they haven't had Strowman's hair in a ponytail like for the past 2 weeks, and he's starting to look like the old guy. And like, remember when he had all the fucking hair in the sheet mask?
Oh yeah,
looked like a troll doll. Yeah.
So WWE has been releasing guys. AEW has released people. Impact released people. Chikara Pro Wrestling shut down. There was a video game that was supposed to be attached to them. That is still going, but it is not going to be a Chikara video game anymore. Smitty, what one of these stuck out the most to you? Whether it be because of how horrible it was. Obviously, we talked a lot about Joey Ryan, but is there a name outside of that is something that that to you is just like, man, fuck that guy or fuck that girl? Because let's not pretend like Jim Cornette's wife wasn't a fucking conversation piece in this.
That was the first I was going for. Was Cornette and his wife, Jim Cornette, and apparently he had people do things to his wife. That I was like, I already thought he was a piece of shit to start off with because some of the shit that comes out of his mouth, and this is just like the icing on the cake. Jim Cornette.
So for those who don't know, Jim Cornette's wife apparently wanted to fuck some people in wrestling, and that's back when he was doing OVW, if I'm not mistaken. And the only way to move up, if his wife wanted you, was to fuck his wife. So yeah, it's again, that's what Z was talking about earlier. Like, it's not just women that are coming out about this. A lot, men can be sexually assaulted as well, you know, and it's just as fucking horrible. So
there was that other post from Orlando on our page about the dude who used to ride with like underage boys and try and get them to suck him off and shit. Yeah, he should have just been a priest,
right? Or at least had that gimmick.
That would have worked.
Yeah, Nick, a name that has really stuck out to you and why?
You know, I know that for me, Matt Riddle, you know, I know that, you know, there's a lot of he said, she said shit with that, but, you know, it's as simple as if she says no, leave it alone. I mean, you like, dude, you're a fucking professional wrestler, and I'm just gonna say, you know, he's a good looking dude. Don't tell me you can't get fucking laid. Don't tell me you can't get some chick that wants to go down on you or whatever the case may be, and you're there and you're putting a female in this situation like that. It's just so, it makes me sick. Like, I don't understand the mentality of these people when they go through with that, and they're just forcing, you know, a man, woman to do whatever they want. It makes me sick, and I can believe it because he just seems like that kind of douchebag. But to me, that's just one of the things that does stick out, because Matt Riddle, he talks all this shit about, oh yeah, I would beat Brock and I'm the best, and he wants to, you know, be the best, and he thinks he's all that. And then you do stupid shit like this, you know, get fucked, dude. You know, I could care less now if I ever see him in the ring again. And again, it's he said, she said, but I'm more likely to believe the she said side of it. So, and the Jim Cornette thing that's really fucked up. I didn't know a whole lot about that. I just saw his name getting thrown around and I didn't look much into it. So yeah, like Smitty said, that just further cements his fucking, he's a piece of shit.
POS status.
Yeah.
Z.
Dave Lagana. I don't feel in all the stuff like around him too. Like, it wasn't just the one girl. This has been an ongoing thing for years. There's a pattern of behavior here, and it's just now getting talked about. And I mean, that's the good thing about this speaking out movement, is for those who have been afraid or, you know, hiding something, they can come out and talk about it. But with somebody like that who seems to be a habitual offender, like, why is this the first we're hearing about it? Why is he in the position he is in? Granted, he's gone now, and they've actually shut down production for the NWA until they figure out, you know, a different hierarchy, you know, putting different people in different places as far as management go. But how did this cancer spread that far when, you know, people just turned a blind eye to it? Because it sounds like everybody knows, like everybody knew it was going on, and the minute like anybody spoke a word about it, he was gone, because everyone knew it to be true. You know, so that was a big one for me.
I want to say, first off, our friend Maureen with NWA, you know, she has been a huge person on Twitter, on Facebook, where it's like, for all of these women and anybody and men speaking out, she has said, if you need someone to talk to, feel free to hit her up. Same with our friend Rohit Raju from Impact. I saw both of them all over Twitter helping, or doing things for the victims, even if it was just to have a lending ear. And I gave them both a major shout out, because if there's one thing that is a bright light in all of this, it is the people who are there to help others feel comfortable in everything that's going on. So I want to give a major shout out to Maureen. And she said herself, she goes, don't think that Lagana represents all of NWA, because they have a bunch of great fucking people that work there, and they're, you know, moving to fix everything and make it better. Same thing with, you know, Rohit Raju. You know, he's a part of the Impact Wrestling and everything that he's doing, man. Yeah, give him a run. Now, my name that sticks out is someone we haven't even mentioned yet, and it's Will Osprey. Will Osprey, you're right there, Smitty? You just mad that you didn't mention Will Osprey?
Yeah, because him and B. Presley was like the second people that came to mind.
So, Smitty, look, the indie scene, I talked about it. You know, we were talking about, at one point we were talking about people who stood out to you for the entire year. And I mentioned Will Osprey because obviously his matches are really good. I don't fully know everything that went into this. I don't know if he was the one. Is he the one that raped her?
It was between him and B. Presley. They kind of collaborated on something from what I was reading.
Okay. Wait, that's his wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't off the top of my head remember who he did this to. But what happened was there was a show that was being put together at a venue by a promoter. And the promoter got Will Osprey on this. And then the promoter brought in someone else to wrestle, a female wrestler. And the venue was like, hey, you know, we're friends with Will. He kind of doesn't feel comfortable with this person being on the card. You should stop. It was shortly after they advertised this person was on the card. And the promoter was like, no, I'm not going to knock someone's work out just because someone doesn't feel comfortable. Like, we're professionals here, you know? And then the venue was like, yeah, well, we're friends with Will, so if you don't take her off the card, you don't have the venue. And as a promoter, you're like, well, that would fuck everything. So they talked to the person and said, hey, I'm sorry, you know, normally we wouldn't do this, but if we don't have a venue and it can't go on. And the person was understanding, like, I get it, so on and so forth. That is a huge fucking thing to me. And it's a huge fucking thing because it's not just fucking with somebody. And apparently this is a rape victim. I really need to I was trying to pull this up and I couldn't.
Complicit in harassing victim of rape retaliation for B. Presley and Osprey had the same ones with it was like one more thing on there. It was sexual harassment.
Okay. So yeah, him stopping this and messing with a promotion is just horrible. And what's even worse about this is no one's really saying anything as far as the company he's involved in, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling. Look, AEW had shit about Jimmy Havoc. Impact had the shit about Joey Ryan, Dave Christ, and Michael Elgin. Gone. WWE, Jack Gallagher, Jordan
suspended.
Huh?
Elgin just got suspended.
No, Elgin's gone now.
Oh, when did that happen?
The other day. So WWE firing people, but New Japan's not saying shit on this. And again, man, I have to blackballing of it. Okay, yeah. So here it is. Indie company. Finally fucking found it. The IWL is the company. I said we'd been trying to put something decent together, but fuck that. Let's call a spade a spade. The call went something like, Will's our boy and feels uncomfortable with you booking Pollyanna. Pollyanna was the person. I told him I wasn't going back on my word with Polly, but would not book her going forward. That wasn't an option. The option was unbook Polly or lose the venue, first show there. Shortly after announcing her versus Renfrew, we got a message from the venue asking us to call them and discuss. Yeah. So she shared emails and things like that with like, hey, you know, they said, unfortunately, I've got some bad news since announcing your match with Renfrew. There's been a lot of unhappy people about it. People unhappy about it. Now, I wouldn't normally make any decisions based on other people because I expect everyone to act professionally despite any issues. However, it is now starting to impact the event itself as it would eventually lead to me losing the venue, which would be devastating. Having said that, I want to reassure you that I do not have any issues with you. And she goes, that's fine. Good luck with your show, and I hope you find a suitable replacement. Yeah, he blackballed a rape victim from a venue, got a venue to cancel it. Like, that's fucking horrible. Like,
that's the kind of shit you see on SVU.
Right. Like, I'm making sure you can't work because of what you said and what happened, because what happened to you hurts one of my friends or something like that. Fuck off.
You play politics.
Fuck off. No,
I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah, exactly.
But
the bottom line is, look, man, I would love to be a deep conversationalist about this. I would love to be more articulate than I am about this. But it's not something that I fully understand. It's similar to all the Black Lives Matter stuff, man. That's why we get Smitty. It's not, look, I've seen stuff happen. I've seen myself be treated better than my friends, right? I can speak on those experiences, but I can't speak on the experiences that Black people have when they wake up and live a fucking day. I can't speak on experiences that women have when they wake up and they have, it's a little bit later, so they only feel comfortable with someone else walking them to their car. I don't feel uncomfortable. I left my job last night at 2:30 in the morning. It was nothing but fucking pandemonium in downtown Detroit because all of the police were 2 blocks away handling something. So everything in the parking lot by my job was fucking nuts. Bottles are being thrown, everything like this. And I walked to my car by myself. I did. I didn't feel uncomfortable. But I don't believe a woman could have done that. Right? Because with all it, cat called, possibly someone walking up on her. I can't speak to these instances. I don't know it. I can say I understand what they're going through and it fucking sucks. But I can never articulate enough to where it's something that I'm someone that you should listen to regarding it. That's, again, why with anything as far as the racial stuff, we always defer to Smitty because it's like, that's the experience. That's who you should listen to. We give him shit left, right, up, down, sideways. We fuck with Smitty, but we love him. And we also know that when it comes to anything fucking serious regarding a race issue, he's the one you should listen to. I just want to say, me personally, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking on behalf of everybody on this show, is if you're uncomfortable or you feel like you're being beaten down in anything of the wrestling industry and you need anyone to, I mean, look, we're not fucking popular, right? We have a couple fans. You know, we have a couple people that like us.
6. We have 6 fans. 6.
Damn
on the running number.
I was really hoping we finally stepped up to 3 hands of counting, maybe using a foot.
Well, maybe 2 and 1 of Nick's hands, not the big one.
Yeah, that's good for 2.5. Yeah. If Smitty wouldn't have shaved his fucking mustache, we might be in a different situation.
And right now, he's creeping everyone out. we had 12, and now we're back to 6. Zoom out. I'm gonna cut your video.
Why would you want to make your nose look bigger?
My nose is beautiful.
I never said it wasn't. I just said it's big and beautiful.
Right, big is beautiful. But yes, if there's anyone who's out there that wants to come out and tell a story or something, I'm not trying to use this for any type of, like, I haven't approached anyone. Like, I wanted to. There's a couple of times I've went, hey, if you want to just come on and tell your story, but I don't want to use this platform like I'm trying to promote myself. I'll put it out there. Anyone who wants to come out and talk a speaking out story, if you felt uncomfortable in anything and you want to get it across and you want to tell it in your words so your tone is heard, so it's not just I typed everything on my notes app, screenshot and posted to Twitter. If you want to have your voice, everything heard, we're here for that. And we support you. You know, he said, she said thing, like I said, I believe everything that is said. And again, he said, she said is also a guy can be saying something against a girl as well, you know, similar to the Cornette stuff. We believe the victims. We do. Enough to where, well, we believe you, period. Hence why some sort of investigation should be happening for sure. Any of these other guys who have multiple people coming out against them, fuck you. Like the Will Osprey thing. Like Pollyanna said all that stuff, and then the company came out and said, yeah, here's the fucking proof. All right, fuck you, Will Osprey. It's not, you know, that's no longer he said, she said. Here's that proof. Fuck off. Fuck right the fuck off.
I think it's weird. A lot of the people on these lists were people on the British and on the British circuit.
I said that when I was explaining mine for games. Like a lot of them are Europeans.
European on my boots. No, all right. Yeah. So look, it is absolutely disgusting that these victims had to deal with what they dealt with. It's absolutely disgusting that they've had to work alongside people who either were a part of continuing this stigma, these heinous acts. It is horrible that they were made to feel like they couldn't speak on this because of name recognition in the industry. I really hope that people continue to speak out when something happens against them, and I really hope that people continue to become more comfortable in speaking out and knowing that what happened to them was not okay. And it is okay to say something regardless of who it may hurt. And I personally think it sucks that somebody is made to feel like they're a piece of shit for being abused. The piece of shit was the person that abused you, period. That being said, I don't think there's much else to say in regards to what's going on in the speaking out movement. Nick, do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. I would say that, yeah, if you or somebody you know is going through this or went through that, you know, don't be afraid to tell somebody and to let your voice be heard. I mean, what a tremendous weight it must be to bear that burden, either being the victim or knowing a victim. And I can understand if you don't want to, you know, say something because of one thing or another, fear or whatever that may be. But, you know, it just, if it's happening to you or someone you know, tell somebody. I mean, this type of shit has got to stop in this day and age. We're all adults. I mean, it just goes back to the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated, and you wouldn't want that happening to you. You wouldn't want that happening to your son. You wouldn't want that happening to your daughter. Just be a decent human being. And yeah, if it's happening, tell somebody. Just you got to speak up.
Z, any final thoughts on it?
No, you basically hit the nail right on the head. I kind of said it better myself.
All right. Smitty, do you have any final thoughts?
Just do better. Everybody, we just got to do better.
All right.
Let's keep it simple.
Yeah, that's great fucking line. Do better, be better. That's it for us, man. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please go to breakingdownthering.com and you can get your go to our official merchandise. You can pick up our Pride shirt. Again, 100% of the profits for our Pride shirt. I switched it up. It's not just to random charities supporting LGBTQ youth. It is now specifically for the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project, anyone 24 and under, they are providing support for helping and prevent suicides, people that are, confused, people that are bi, people that are gay, people that are trans. They're helping people with supporting them mentally. It is very difficult to say you're different. It is very difficult to find out that you're different and try to cope with it, especially by yourself. There's not all the time that you have the support system around you. And the Trevor Project is helping support those without a support system. And it's a great fucking cause, man. So go to breakingdownthering.com and go pick up our Pride shirt. Remember, 100% of those profits. Unfortunately, just give everyone a heads up, due to COVID-19, there is major delays with the printing of these. It will take you about a month to get them, but during Pride Month, the money goes to the Trevor Project. It's not just through the month of June. It is, if you purchase this shirt in July, if you purchase this shirt in October, January, anytime you want to purchase this shirt, the money goes to support the Trevor Project, which is an amazing cause. Please do that, breakingdownthering.com. And that's it for us. We are your ring crew.
Mr. Smitty.
Plain White Z.
Your new ring crew champion, Koenig 19.
You and me, the almighty one, Mikey himself. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again so much for paying attention to us, even for a little bit of the time during your week. We'll see you next week. We are out.